Stop trying to be good at everything you do. Seriously, your obsession with being the best, or even just being decent, is actually making your life a lot more boring and way more stressful than it needs to be. Most of us spend our entire lives running a race that doesn't actually have a finish line. From the time we are kids, we are told that if we are going to do something, we should do it well. We get grades in school to show how good we are at math or history. We get performance reviews at work to show how good we are at our jobs. Even when we finally get a few hours of free time on the weekend, we feel this weird pressure to be productive or to show off a skill. We've reached a point where we feel like we aren't allowed to just exist in a space of being total garbage at something. But what if I told you that being objectively, pathologically bad at a hobby is actually the best thing you can do for your brain? What if the secret to being a happier, more creative, and less stressed person isn't getting better at your job, but getting worse at something else? Today, we're going to talk about why you need to find something you are absolutely terrible at and why you should start doing it right now without any intention of ever getting better. We live in a world that is obsessed with hustle culture. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You can't just have a hobby anymore. If you like to bake, your friends tell you that you should start a bakery or at least sell your cookies on Instagram. If you like to knit, people ask why you haven't opened an Etsy shop yet. If you're good at photography, you're told to start doing weddings on the side for extra cash. Everything has to be a side hustle. We've forgotten how to just have fun without a price tag or a likes count attached to it. This pressure to monetize or professionalize our joy is a total trap. It turns our relaxation time into another form of labor. When you try to be good at something, you start caring about the results. You care about what people think. You care about the finished product. And as soon as you start caring about the results, the playfulness dies. The magic disappears. You're back in the office, even if you're standing in your kitchen or sitting at a pottery wheel. This brings us to a huge problem called perfectionism paralysis. It's that feeling where you want to try something new, like painting or playing the ukulele, but you don't even start because you know you're going to be bad at it at first. You look at professionals on YouTube or TikTok who make it look so easy, and you think, well, I'll never be that good, so why even try? We've become so afraid of being average, or below average, that we just stop exploring. We stay in our little boxes of things we are already good at. But staying in that box is how your brain starts to slow down. When you only do things you're good at, you're just repeating patterns you already know. You aren't growing, you aren't challenging yourself, you're just comfortable, and comfort is where creativity goes to die. There is an incredible kind of freedom that comes with being a perpetual beginner. When you decide that you are going to be bad at something, and that you're okay with that, the pressure totally vanishes. Think about it. If you're a terrible painter and you know it, you don't have to worry about the lighting, the perspective, or the color theory. You can just smear blue paint on a canvas because you like the color blue. You aren't performing for anyone. You aren't trying to win an award. You're just playing. It's like being a kid again. Kids don't draw a picture and worry if it's marketable. They draw because they have a crayon and a piece of paper and it feels good to move their hand across the page. Reclaiming that sense of pure leisure is essential for our mental health. It separates our self-worth from our productivity. It reminds us that we are human beings, not human doings. There is actually a lot of science behind why struggling at a new task is good for you. It's all about something called neuroplasticity. Your brain is like a muscle, and it loves to solve problems. When you do something you're already an expert at, your brain basically goes on autopilot. It doesn't have to work hard. But when you pick up a guitar for the first time and your fingers have no idea where to go, your brain starts firing in all directions. It's literally building new neural pathways as you struggle to hit a simple chord. Even if the sound coming out of the guitar is a total nightmare, your brain is getting a massive workout. Research shows that this kind of mental struggle can actually keep your brain younger and more flexible. It's not about the music you make, it's about the effort your brain puts in to try and make it. Being bad at a hobby also lowers your stress levels in a way that being good doesn't. There was a study where researchers had people create art for 45 minutes. They measured the participants' cortisol levels, which is the hormone that tells your body you're stressed, before and after the art session. They found that about 75% of the people had significantly lower cortisol levels after making art, regardless of their skill level. It didn't matter if they were the next Picasso or if they were drawing stick figures that looked like spiders. The act of creation itself was what lowered the stress. So, if you're waiting until you're good enough at a hobby to enjoy it, you're missing out on the stress relief benefits that are available to you right now, as a total amateur. Let's look at some real-life examples of how this looks in the wild. Imagine the tone-deaf musician. This is someone who loves the feeling of a drum set or the vibration of bass strings. They can't keep a beat to save their life. Their singing sounds like a bag of cats being dropped down a flight of stairs. But every Tuesday night, they go into the garage and they play. Why? Because the physical act of making noise is cathartic. They aren't trying to get a record deal. They're just letting out the frustrations of the day through a loud, messy, uncoordinated rhythm. That person is probably much more relaxed on Wednesday morning than the person who spent their night scrolling through social media feeling bad about their life. Or think about the messy gourmet. This is the person who loves the idea of cooking complex French meals but always manages to burn the butter or make the sauce too salty. Their kitchen looks like a disaster zone when they're done. The final plate might look like something you'd find in a trash can, but for them, the kitchen is a laboratory. They are smelling new spices, feeling the texture of the dough, and tasting things they've never tried before. They are having an adventure. Even if the meal is barely edible, they learned something. They experienced something. They didn't just order takeout and sit on the couch. They engaged with the world in a tactile, messy way. Then there's the uncoordinated athlete. We've all seen that person at the local park or a dance class who is constantly half a beat behind everyone else. They trip over their own feet. They drop the ball, but they're also the person with the biggest smile on their face. Why? Because they've killed their ego. They know they aren't the best in the room, and they don't care. There is a massive psychological benefit to ego death. When you're okay with being the worst person in a room, you become invincible. Nothing can embarrass you. You're there for the movement, the sweat, and the social connection, not the trophy. There's a great story about a high-powered CEO who spent his whole day giving orders and being the smartest person in every meeting. He started taking a pottery class on the weekends. For the first 6 months, he couldn't even get the clay to stay on the wheel. It would fly off and hit the wall, or it would collapse into a grey puddle. He was objectively the worst student in the class, but he said it was the most important part of his week. Why? Because it was the only time in his life where he wasn't the boss. He had to be humble. He had to listen to the teacher. He had to fail, over and over again, in front of strangers. That humility made him a better leader at work. It reminded him what it feels like to struggle, which made him more empathetic toward his employees. It gave him a safe place to be imperfect. So, how do you actually choose your bad hobby? The best way is to look for the intimidation factor. Think about the one thing you've always wanted to try but told yourself you don't have the talent for. Maybe it's dancing, or coding, or woodworking, or learning a difficult language like Mandarin. If you feel a little bit of fear or embarrassment at the thought of doing it, that's exactly what you should pick. That fear is just your ego trying to protect itself from looking stupid. Ignore it. Once you pick your hobby, you have to follow the no posting rule. This is the most important part. Do not put your bad hobby on social media. The second you post a photo of your lopsided cake or your shaky drawing, you're looking for external validation. You're waiting for people to say, "Oh, it's not that bad," or "You're getting better." As soon as you look for that validation, you're back in the performance trap. Keep your hobby for yourself. Let it be a private secret between you and your own messy creativity. If it's not for the gram, it's for you. You also shouldn't go out and buy the most expensive gear right away. If you're starting to paint, buy the cheap brushes and the basic paints. If the stakes are low, you won't feel bad about wasting materials. If you buy a $500 camera, you're going to feel a huge amount of pressure to take good photos to justify the cost. But if you're just messing around with a cheap disposable camera or your phone, you can be as experimental as you want. Keep the investment low so the joy can stay high. I also recommend the 20-hour rule. Commit to being bad at something for at least 20 hours. Most people quit a new hobby within the first 2 hours because the sucking feels too uncomfortable. But if you tell yourself, "I am going to be terrible at this for 20 hours no matter what," you give yourself permission to move past that initial wall of frustration. You'll find that around hour 10 or 12, you stop caring about being bad and start focusing on the sensations. You'll start to notice the smell of the sawdust, the way the light hits the paper, or the rhythm of the language you're trying to speak. You start to enjoy the process, not just the result. Life is honestly way too short to only do things that you're productive at. We are more than just our jobs or our achievements. We are creatures that are meant to explore, to play, and to make mistakes. Being a perpetual beginner keeps you curious. It keeps you young at heart. It reminds you that the world is huge and that there are a million things you don't know yet. There is so much beauty in a cracked pot, a wrong note, or a blurry photo, because those things are evidence that you are actually living. You aren't just a machine that produces results, you're a human being who is brave enough to be seen being imperfect. So, here is my challenge to you. Go out this week and do something you're absolutely, pathologically bad at. Join a sport you've never played, pick up a musical instrument that confuses you, or try to cook something that seems way out of your league. And while you're doing it, when you inevitably mess up, I want you to stop, take a breath, and laugh. Enjoy the mess. Lean into the failure, because that mess is where your real life is happening. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be there. If this video gave you permission to finally stop being perfect and just enjoy the process, make sure to check out this video next to keep building a life you actually love.